This is the story of a beautiful, ambitious girl who, like most young women her age, was looking to find Mr. Right. Will she? Watch till the end. Enjoy.
I still can't believe my good fortune. I wonder if I will ever get used to being the owner of my very own restaurant. Oh, how I wish Mr. Right will just walk in right now. I long for the day when true love will knock at my door. I see you've met Florence. She's a great cook. And a daydreamer. I would say daydreaming is her hobby. Little wonder she owns a restaurant. She's pretty, single and a goal-getter. But although she's all these and more, she has no flair for God's kingdom. Just a regular churchgoer like most people. Never interested in kingdom activities.
Daydreaming, she's brought back to reality by her mother. Florence, Florence, I have called you twice now. Sorry Mum, I was daydreaming again. You know me. You're a pie in the sky, but that's okay. I always said you could have as many dreams as you want as long as you can turn them into reality someday. And that someday has arrived. I'm proud of you, honey. Thanks, Mum, you're the best. The next day was a Sunday. Since Florence was a church attendee, she decides to worship with the church downtown.
Hello, sister. Thank you for worshiping with us today. I see you are new here. I'm Sheriff.
I'm Florence. I just moved in. I'm the owner of the French restaurant downtown.
Wow, I might just stop by one of these days to grab a bite.
I will really love that. This is Sheriff. He's cute, hardworking, rich, and in my opinion, the most eligible bachelor. He loves God with all his heart and will do whatever God asks of him. So sweet, a God-fearing gentleman actively involved in God's vineyard. Anyways, he did stop by at the restaurant and became good friends with Florence. Things kicked off well between him and Florence. They enjoyed each other's company, went on a couple of dates, and Florence was excited. So was Sheriff. Maybe we've found our Mr. Right after all.
What have you done to me, Florence? All I think about these days is Florence. She's pretty. Check. Single. Check. Goal-getter. Check. And we've had such good times together lately. Check. But she's not interested in the Lord's business. Uncheck.
Sheriff clearly saw that now. Every time they'd been together in the past few weeks and the subject of God or church had come up, Florence hadn't much to say. Disappointment that was sharper than a hunger pang hit him in the gut. No, the heart. And without telling Florence anything, he withdrew himself from her. More like put an end to their budding relationship. Absence makes the heart grow fonder was certainly applicable here. She couldn't keep her heart off Sheriff. Apparently that wasn't the case with him. What was going on? They'd had many date nights in a row. Now, she only sees him in church or downtown when their paths cross. Well, I guess that leaves me some free time to devote to the church rebuilding project. She picked up Pastor Ken's letter she'd received in today's mail and reread it. He was pleading for volunteers. When she found out the part about the 4 children in the family and no father, tears came to her eyes. That meant a single mother working her heart out to make a living and raise the children. That sounded familiar. She knew what it was to be in need. And she knew what she had to do. She put the letter down, picked up her cell phone and called the pastor. She told him she wanted to sign up for the project and mentioned her areas of expertise. When she found out about Sheriff also being a volunteer, her heart sank. Her budding romance with him had turned out to be no romance at all. She didn't know what had happened with Sheriff and her. Whatever had been afloat had sunk like a capsized ship. On a second thought, maybe she did know what happened. He was always talking about church and it irked her sometimes. Maybe he sensed that about her and maybe that irked him. After all, he was Mr. Evangelist. Now, when she saw him, she felt awkward and uncomfortable. I don't know what the future holds for me concerning Mr. Right. But one thing I do know. I will work my heart out for this poverty-stricken family, and my restaurant too. At least working on this project will give her a sense of fulfillment. and it gave her opportunities to be in close proximity to Sheriff. Florence drove towards the Harrisons' house where she'd been working for a week. Every spare time away from her restaurant, she spent at the church rebuilding project, which they named Project Hope. Also, unknown to her, though Sheriff had kept his distance from Florence, he prays for the salvation of her soul every day. She pulled to the front yard, pictured the Harrison children playing on the soft green grass by the time the rebuilding project was completed. She gave decorating guidance to Mrs. Harrison as she made selection of paint colors, cabinets and new furniture. She had done everything they'd asked her to do, had been glad to do it. This very day, she would be painting, so she wore her paint clothes. A t-shirt, faded cut-off jeans and old tennis shoes. To her right and left, she saw rows of houses like the one they were rebuilding, with hardly any space between them. She heard people talking loudly on porches up and down the street. A horn blared in the distance. Deeply touched, Florence shook her head. But at least the church was rebuilding one house at a time. Tears stung her eyes as she got out of the car, her mind on the family they were helping. Next door, a woman screamed as if in agony.
"You can't leave me. I can't stand it if you leave me."
Deeply touched, Florence shook her head. But at least the church was rebuilding one house at a time. Tears stung her eyes as she got out of the car, her mind on the family they were helping. A young girl, maybe 12 or 13, came out of the house and made her way to Florence.
How do you like my nudo?
She made a primping gesture. Florence recognized the girl as a member of the Harrison family. She'd seen her a couple of times during the project.
Yes, darling. You look stunning. And aren't you wearing some makeup?
Yes, Mom. Part of this program was makeovers for me and Mama. They did me today. Mama gets done Saturday. We got some new clothes too.
I see. That.
I'm supposed to help you paint tonight.
When they got into the house, Florence could see they were among the first to get there. A quick glance at the kitchen window told her Sheriff's car wasn't there yet. Perhaps he'd stopped to pick up something. She was looking forward to seeing him. They had been working for hours now. The evening had gone by quickly. She and Sharon were finishing the third bedroom. Sharon was at her side, rolling paint on the wall in fast, even strokes. Though the girl was young, Florence could see she was industrious. She'd go somewhere in life. Sharon.
Yes, Mom.
You're a hard worker.
Thank you, Mom. To God be all the glory.
You have a dramatic flair too. That's a winning combination. Hard work and personality. Who knows, maybe you'll be the next Oprah Winfrey. Now, that's what I call success.
No, Mom.
Florence was surprised. What?
I'm not saying Oprah isn't successful. Everybody knows her better than that. She's on the pinnacle. She's riding the high waves. She's not only rich and smart and generous and gifted, it seems like she's got something about her that I can't explain.
I'd say it's an ethereal quality. Whatever it is, it draws people to her. Sharon nodded vigorously.
But none of that is real success in my book.
What's real success in your book? Sharon took a theatrical stance, bowing her head and clumping her eyes shut.
If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Florence was momentarily stunned.
You're quoting 1 Corinthians 13.
It's called the love chapter.
I know. Where did you learn that?
At church. I help teach children's Sunday school class. I help them memorize scriptures.
That's amazing.
No, Mom. It takes practice. Practice to learn it and practice to live it.
Florence swallowed hard.
Sharon, you're something. You know that. You didn't answer my question though. What's real success in your book?
What I just quoted. The love the apostle was talking about is the love for the Lord. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except by me. Putting Jesus, His work and His word above all else. That's what real success is in my book.
Florence took a deep breath and slowly released it. Her restaurant had been the center of her world, not Jesus. And before her restaurant, other things had crowded out the Lord. She pushed him aside in her feverish quest for success. But you did it for a good reason, came a dark voice. You wanted to take care of your mother. And that's right, and good and worthy, Florence responded in her heart. But what about 1 Corinthians 13? The love chapter. Another voice said, Love, I've got plenty of love. Not the right kind, said the good voice. A warring seemed to go on in Florence's soul as thoughts ricocheted through it. Sure you have love. You're involved in this project, said the dark voice. What's your motive? I'm not only interested in what you do but why you do it, said the God voice. But I empathized with this family. A truthful answer, said the God voice. I identified with them. I gave of myself in this project. True, said the God voice. But remember, if I give of myself but have not love, I gain nothing, said the God voice. Florence winced. What had Sharon said about the love 1 Corinthians talked about? That it was referring to the Lord and putting Him first. That's real love, Sharon had said. The nugget of wisdom hit its mark, piercing Florence's heart. Lord, she prayed in anguish of spirit. What should I do? Put me, my work and my word first in your life, the Lord answered her. I will, Lord, I promise I will. She was so happy she hugged Sharon in a sisterly hug. Thank you, Sharon, for bringing me manna from heaven.
The manna was light and sweet and good, and Florence envisioned big fluffy dumplings raining down from the sky. The thought made her smile with a newfound joy.
Sharon quietly went back to her painting, as if she possessed the wisdom of the ages. Florence thought about the irony of the situation. She wanted to give guidance and advice to Sharon, and Sharon ended up giving them to her.
She saw her vision again. Manna, a fitting vision for a cook.
Lord, thank you for speaking to me through this young girl. Forgive me for not putting you at the top of my list in my life. Help me to do better. Please help me achieve success, she said aloud.
What did you say? Sharon stopped painting and looked at her.
I was praying.
That's something I do all the time. Morning, noon and night. It's what my mother taught me to do.
Mine too. And from here on out, I'm going to do more of it. Florence got her priorities right. She put God, His work and His word first. Another thing she'd been killing herself for was added onto her effortlessly. Her restaurant flourished with more customers than she could cater to. And she found Mr. Right. God is indeed faithful.
We know you were blessed by this ministration. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. God bless you.